I think that one of the most profound things that I've learned in my mental health journey is to not be afraid to really reevaluate yourself, reevaluate your identity, to let old things go, to surrender things that no longer serve you, and to, be hopeful and constantly self-aware of everything that you're growing into. Yeah, I have a lot of tools that I use to maintain my mental health. I think for me, one of the most important ones is meeting with a therapist every other week. That has been great, and I think it's the times that, I think, oh, I don't need to see my therapist today, are some of the most profound days that I have in talking to her, as well as doing a meditation practice and doing things that bring me joy, which is cooking, being outside with my friends, being outside by myself, and really having that time in nature. A lot of my journey has been kind of the anxiety hidden in the back of my head that was always running, always making me hyper-vigilant, always afraid. Even things that I love to do outdoors, I was afraid. I'd be afraid to go on a camping trip because what if something happened, or what if I got sick? And, that really all came to a head last year when I was really struggling with a lot of new allergies, having to go to the hospital, and kind of my eating disorder resurfacing. And, I really started to feel hope again when I just saw how much my friends showed up for me and cared for me, and they were the ones who really identified it and were like, hey, what do you need? We're here, and really helped me with that journey to start to talk to my therapist more and to ultimately make the choice to go on medication. One piece of advice to give someone, it's so hard. I would say, however you can talk to somebody, find a therapist. Therapy has really transformed my life, and to make sure that you are also talking to your doctor, because there are options that may be useful to you. Something that's really important to me and kind of that I live my life around is this cycle of order, disorder, and reorder. It's something that I learned from one of my favorite writers, Richard Rohr, and what he talks about is, we come into this world and we have a lot of order, we follow the rules, we do what society tells us to, or what we've been conditioned or grown up to believe and understand, but where that second half of life and real maturity and health and authenticity comes from is that disorder to reorder, which means, the willingness to kind of disassemble your life, to deconstruct it, to really, process what you have been told about yourself and what's true. And then on the other side is the reorder, to really rebuild that identity for your most authentic self. And I think a lot of people are scared of that disorder, scared of what comes from it. I can say, there have definitely been some dark times for me in those places, but I would say on the other side, as we work towards reorder, to just feel so much more myself and so confident in who I am and what I want, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Backstory, I grew up in South Carolina to a very loving yet high-achieving family. I was a pretty cautious kid, and I just had parents who were wonderful and loved me really well, but pushed me pretty hard once they saw that I was a pretty high-achieving child. And so I learned, I think what a lot of children learn, is that my worth is through achieving. So if I got a 93, I needed to get a 98. I needed to push myself to work harder and be better and really be perfect. And I think a lot of that came from maybe some misunderstandings of what Christianity is and the world I grew up in, of just thinking that I had to be perfect. And so I spent almost all of my childhood focusing on that. My family had some other struggles, and I really just learned this phrase of Haley can take care of herself. I was so focused on not being a burden, and I didn't realize how often this refrain of Haley's fine, Haley's fine, Haley's fine has built into my life. And really that's how my anxiety progressed into my adulthood, is just this idea that I'm fine, nothing's wrong, I don't need help, and I am going to work as hard as possible to achieve. And so there was always this hypervigilant, always this anxiety in the back of my head. I would call it kind of like a low hum that was always there, but whether or not I was aware of it kind of fluctuated in the time. Also, as a high schooler, I struggled with some exercise and eating disorders and a lot of issues with body image. And so for me, I think one of the revelation points came from moving out to Summit County and being able to really appreciate what my body can do versus be angry for what it's not. So being able to trail run and mountain bike and ski and get outside and really using that as a connection point to be more compassionate with my body has been a big revelation for me, as well as therapy, working through some of those issues that I had as a child, and also going on medication, it really has helped take the kind of low hum out of my head, and I feel like I'm able to think much more clearly now. A culture that rewards our type of anxiety. We live in a society that tells us that if we work hard and we hustle and we never stop, that that's valuable. And I believed that for a long time, and it really was killing me. And so I would encourage people, to really reevaluate that in their lives, and also to not be afraid of medication. I know that sometimes that's a big thing, and for me, I wrestled with that a lot. And some people are afraid to take that step, but sometimes it really is the best option for you. Definitely say in one of my darkest moments, I was just thinking, I can't let anybody know about this. I can't let anybody know that I'm struggling with this, because then they'll think less of me. People have always seen me as the happy-go-lucky, hardworking, smiling person, because I am smiling like 100% of the time. And I think I was so afraid of my identity being misconstrued or changed if I let people know. And I would just say that by being open and honest with this, all of my relationships have grown and deepened. None of them have been harmed. Say last piece of advice that I would give people is buy a journal. Even if you're not a writer, I am a writer, so it brings me a lot of joy. But even if you're not, I think one of the most significant things for me has been able to look back through my old journals and see how much I've grown and see how I've progressed.